If you're a PC enthusiast looking to enhance your rig with vibrant RGB lighting, you know that the right case fans can make all the difference. In this guide, we're highlighting the top 5 RGB case fans that combine stunning design, impressive performance, and great value. Whether you're on a tight budget or willing to splurge for premium features, we've got you covered. Let's explore the best options to light up your gaming PC and keep it cool at the same time. Number 5. The Thermalright TLC12CS is one of the best ultra-budget RGB case fans for your gaming PC, priced at just $15.39 for a pack of 3. This means each fan costs only $5.13, which is incredible for the price. The design is quite basic, with the RGB only on the fan itself, nothing else is illuminated. While the fan feels good in quality, there's not much else to it. But considering the low price, this is probably the best RGB fan you can get on a tight budget. The RGB performance is decent. The colors are vibrant, and the brightness is good, although the RGB effect fades a bit towards the edges of the fan. It still performs well for the price, and while the sticker on the front isn't perfectly centered, it's hard to complain about that given the low cost. The fans also do a decent job of displaying white light, although it has a cooler blue tone. If you're planning an all-white build, these fans would work well. One great feature of these fans is their daisy chain capability. Each fan has connections for both power and RGB, meaning you can connect multiple fans to just one fan header and one RGB header. This is especially helpful if you have a budget motherboard with limited fan and RGB headers. It doesn't require any special proprietary connections, just a standard fan header and a 3-pin RGB header. When it comes to performance, the TLC12CS offers a max airflow of 53.43 CFM, which is quite impressive for the price. If you're building a PC with multiple fans and need something affordable but still effective, these are a fantastic option. However, I couldn't find any information about a warranty. Overall, if you're looking for an affordable RGB fan with decent performance, this is a great choice. Number 4. Spot, which is the Be Quiet. Lightwings coming in at a price tag of $79.90 for a pack of 3 or 26.63 per fan. Now the design here is a large diffused RGB halo or a circle with the fans not being limited at all, so those fans do not have any illumination on them. However, the thing that I really like about this design is that not only do you get the Be Quiet silent fan design, which I really enjoy for noise levels, but you also get RGB on the back of the fans. A thin inner ring that looks really clean goes around the back. I really like that because, well, depending on your build you might actually see the back of those case fans, so they did put work and effort in there, which I really like. The RGB here is great, it's bright, it's vibrant, it's very diffused and has a ton of different segments, so the effects and rainbow and whatever you want, it just looks really good and clean. However, while I think the design looks cool, I personally prefer the fans to be lit up with a little bit more RGB. Obviously this one doesn't have any RGB, but that's up to personal preference. In fact, I would say probably 80% of your buying decision with RGB fans really is going to be aesthetics, because that's the whole point of buying an RGB fan. This is a style of case fan that if I was going to build a full case with these fans, I think it would look best with every single fan on the case being this design, because then you're getting like those cool just circle RGB everywhere. I think that could look very cool, but as far as an accent piece, I think I would probably go with their traditional RGB fan. Now, white light performance here is alright, it leans more to the purple pinkish white, and while you can definitely work with this if you do want to do a white build, this is definitely not the ideal for an icy build. Now, as far as daisy chain ability here, there is a little bit of an oversight that was made with these having the RGB daisy chainable on the actual cable itself but not the fan controller, which is quite odd, as the 3-pack comes with an RGB hub with 6 3-pin RGB headers but no fan hub, which I mean, right, it's not just me, that makes zero sense, right? I would rather have a fan hub rather than an RGB hub if the cable can already be daisy chained. That doesn't make a lot of sense. However, buying fan header like splitters is pretty cheap and easy to get, but well, just out of the box a little bit of an oversight, I think. Now let's talk performance. I do have the 140mm variants, but there is also a 120 more traditional, but the CFM hits 77.5. That's really good. The performance here is great and they are nice and quiet due to the Be Quiet fan blade design, so if you do like that design, you're not going to compromise on either noise levels and sound as well as your performance and overall airflow, so you really can't go wrong with these if you love that design. But it is going to be down to if you want that design in your case. As far as warranty, you get a 3-year warranty. Overall, this is solid performance, great noise levels, and RGB on both the front and the back. If you like this RGB design, it's going to be hard to go wrong with the Be Quiet light wings. But with that, let's move on to the Number 3. Spot, which is the Corsair QL120S, coming in at a whopping $139.99 for a 3-pack, or 66 cents per fan. That's a lot of money. They're typically on sale though, so they're not quite that much. Check the links below for current pricing. But the design of these Corsairs is the best on the list, in my opinion. Now while I love the in-your-face RGB, it may be a little bit childish, but it's one of my guilty pleasures. The QL120S look absolutely awesome. You have the stainless Corsair logo in the middle, the RGB fan blades are very bright and vibrant with that RGB. There's then a diffused RGB ring, similar to the Be Quiet light wings, that are both around the front and the back, and they are very, very bright. And then the body of the fan is just very nicely sculpted, kind of to show more of the RGB through cutouts. Now the RGB here is exactly what you'd expect. That is absolutely fantastic. It is the best on the list in my opinion. This is all subjective, but I absolutely love the DRGB on these fans. It is insanely bright. These are the brightest on the list. They will light up your entire case with RGB lighting, which is one of my favorite things, because you will not have any dim spots in your case if you put these in your PC. They are very, very bright. The colors are vibrant. There is a ton of customizability inside of iCUE, which may be a pro or a con that you have to use iCUE to control these. While it does give you a lot more customization than many of your typical RGB softwares, well, sometimes iCUE can be a little bit glitchy and you have to use iCUE. Now the white light performance here is also great, so if you did want to do an icy build, which I actually did with these fans before, so sick, it looks absolutely awesome. So white light great for that. Now as far as daisy trainability and hubs, while these have no daisy chainability with the fan itself or the RGB, and there is a proprietary Corsair RGB controller, which does come with the fans, so you cannot just plug these directly into your motherboard for the RGB, so you do have to plug those into that controller. So that's kind of how it works. Corsair's iCUE software goes through that hub and that's how you control the fans, so you won't be able to control them any other way, and you won't even have the RGB on any other way. So yes, something more that you do have to deal with, but well, in my opinion is worth it because that RGB is really good. Now let's talk about airflow, and this is the Achilles heel of the Corsair QL120S. This only reached a CFM of 43.8, and that is max CFM. Now for the price, the airflow is not up to par compared to the competition or even cheaper fans like we saw with the Thermalrights, which I will say are a standout fan that nothing even comes close to the Thermalright with performance as well as RGB, so that is definitely in its own league, which is very, very special. But yeah, the CFM here isn't great. For some people this may completely void this fan, but for me, at the end of the day when I'm looking for an RGB fan, the RGB is going to be more important than the performance. I'd rather get a lot more fans or just use a more meshy airflowy case and have that unbelievable RGB. This is my personal favorite on the list, but because of the Achilles heel of the airflow, which at the end of the day it's not going to burn up your rig, it's not going to make your whole system overheat, it's just not going to be quite as good as others on the list. Now as far as warranty, this gets a 2-year warranty. Overall, if you want some of the greatest RGB on any case fan and don't mind compromising on some airflow when compared to other fans, this is a fantastic fan when basing most of your by design decision on aesthetics. But with that, let's move on to the number 2 spot, which is the Cooler Master Mobius 120p, coming in at $29.99 per fan, a good price. The design of the Cooler Master is fairly basic, but we do see that ring blade fan design, which is really, really cool. The fans themselves are more illuminated here, giving you much more full RGB look when compared to something like the Thermalright. I don't want to make it seem like the Thermalright isn't great, but the Cooler Master is just quite a bit more brighter and full. The RGB here is quite bright, like I said, and will also light up a case more so with the rear of the fan. This is kind of an interesting thing that is not at all a bad thing. So if that makes sense, the front of it is the majority of the light will be coming from that diffused fan blade, but the rear of the fan is still diffused, but it gives a lot more of that glow. So if you have these on the front of your case, let's say you have 3 of them on the front of your case and you don't have a front-mounted radiator to block that RGB, it's going to shove a ton of light and just bounce that light all across your case, which is a really big benefit because it kind of eliminates the need to get maybe an RGB strip to put inside of your case. This is something that, well, when looking at it you would never even think. But yeah, if you turn this fan around the room, which I did, it's just like a flashlight of RGB. It's quite cool. The RGB is vibrant and pretty, the colors look great and are pretty, but the design is overall fairly basic in its nature. White light performance here is absolutely fantastic. It is a very, very good. It's on the cooler side, but it does give you look of a very white light rather than a tinted white. So yeah, I'm quite impressed. But again, it's nothing special in this design. It just looks fairly basic. but it does the thing well, which is RGB, and let's talk about daisy chainability here. The RGB is daisy chainable with the fan connection not being daisy chainable and the one zonk here, which is really. The only problem with this fan is that the cables are very, very short compared to the other case fans, but they are like believed in some nice like wrapping, which is kind of cool, but yeah, they're pretty short cables overall. However, you do not need any like hubs. These are going to plug in with your 3-pin RGB header and then your standard fan header. Now for performance, let's talk about it because these are really, really good. This is a max CFM of 73.9, so basically 74, which is really good. The RGB performance paired with that airflow is why these are so easy to recommend. These are just solid fans all around. Pair that with the warranty, which is 5 years, that is like really good. Now everything about this fan is fantastic. There's nothing that it really does wrong at all, but it's just a fairly basic design. But if that's what you're looking for and you want like the best basic design one, I mean the Cooler Master Mobius 120p, that's what it is. But with that, let's move on to the number 1 best RGB case fan. This is the Lean L120V2, coming in at a price tag of $89.90 for a pack of 3, or $29.96 per fan. That is a good price for this fan. The design here is a very refined and extraordinarily cool. They have brushed metal side panels with 4 little RGB segments on each side, with then 4 more of those like cool RGB segments on the front and back, giving you a total of 16 of these little RGB segments in addition to a ring around the back and then the RGB fan itself. However, the biggest draw for me is that at every angle that you look at this band, it just looks unbelievably good. The fan blades are very vibrant, and on the rear there is that cool ring that I was talking about, which is very, very bright. So even from the back or the front it looks as refined, which is something you really can't say about many fans. The Be Quiet definitely did a little bit more for the back, but not like this. This looks fantastic at every angle. This is definitely a very striking case fan. Now, white light performance here is quite good. It is great for white cases, not quite as good as a Cooler Master, which was very impressive, but it's still very, very good. And if you want to do a white build, don't even bat an eye. Now moving on to daisy chainability, this gets really, really special here, and it's a huge draw. This is the biggest party trick of the L120V2S. They have this cable-less daisy chainable slide together system which works unbelievably well. So essentially you can snap them in together, you can slide them in together, so that when you daisy chain 3 or 2 or 5 or 10, I mean obviously your case is not gonna fit 10, but basically you can slide those together and then you plug in one cable and a single cable is now controlling all 3 fans. Cable management unbelievably easy. If you wanted to mount this like 3 fans at the top of your case, 3 fans the front of your case, snap and begin or snap the other cable in, plug it in, you're done. I mean it's so nice, and cable management is super easy that way. Now the flip side to that is because these are Lean's own design, all the connections are proprietary, so you do need a hub, which they do provide in the box. They obviously provide everything, you don't need to get anything extra. However, or you do have to plug these into your hub, so you can't just take one cable and like plug it into RGB and then fan header. No, you have to plug it into the actual hub regardless if you have 1 or 10 fans. However, everything is a really high quality. You have individual cables if you choose not to snap them together, and you even have a daisy chain cable between fans if you want to daisy chain them but don't want to have them touching and locked in together. The cables also match the very good build quality of the fans themselves, being all sleeved and color matched. But now you're thinking, well, is this going to be like the Corsair and not have great airflow or performance? Well, no. This is actually quite good. This is a CFM of 69.9, so essentially 70 CFM, and this is a big part of the reason these are the best RGB fans out there. It balances having very unique RGB elements that look absolutely insane, fantastic build quality while still giving you that great performance and airflow, and this has a 2-year warranty. Overall, if you want fantastic looking beautiful RGB, the best cable management system and daisy chaining in the game, great airflow and performance, the Lean L120V2S are the best RGB fans out there. Again, if you want to check out any of the 5 yes in this video, there's Amazon links below, 30 US, UK, Canada and international links. If you're looking to build your first rig or maybe your next PC, here is a case video that I did, top 5 cases, check that video out right there. If you're trying to figure out, hey, what's the best case to buy on a budget around $100, that video should help you. Alright, this is Consumer Tech Reveal. See you guys in the next video.